about reverse mortgages and the way that they work. And the folder that you have on the left-hand side is copies of the slides. That's what you're going to be seeing this morning, so you can take them with you. We have plenty of time. We'll answer your questions, and almost every piece of paper in there has my contact information in it as well. And so that this is a public service. This is what the Council on Aging does: is helps folks who come to the council to get additional information on whatever is available. We're very informal. Any questions at all, we'll get them answered for you. Questions that you don't get answered today and we think of it tomorrow or whenever, just you've got my cell phone number and my email address in there. Just get back to me and we'll get your questions answered for you. I find when doing a presentation like this, it's interesting because different folks have different backgrounds. There's been a lot of information on TV. Good old Tom Selleck is there on a regular basis. And I was doing this out in Wareham about a year or so ago, and it was a group of folks like this. And I mentioned that, and one of the women, right at this point, very early in the presentation, she raised her hand. I said, "How can I help?" She said, I want to go ahead and get a reverse mortgage. And so I said, "Well, certainly. Do you have any questions?" She said, "Yes. When can Tom Selleck come by and take my application?" I said, "You'll have to get the number for his agent and ask him." But I'm sure that, well, Tom is a great actor, good guy, I'm sure. I don't know how much he knows about reverse mortgages, but he does represent himself well. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. The reverse mortgage program is government sponsored and government insured. It's specifically designed to help senior citizens stay in their homes, because what was happening was years ago, the government was finding there were so many people who were equity rich, been in their home for a long time, had a lot of equity, but didn't have the cash to do the things. Taxes were going up, insurance was going up, more repairs needed to be done. And so the government designed this program specifically to help senior citizens turn some of that equity into cash. I want to emphasize that if you get a reverse mortgage, the proceeds of the reverse mortgage are tax-free. Tax-free. They are not income, so that you have no obligation to Uncle Sam with them. So I like reverse mortgages because they're really simple and straightforward. This is not rocket science by any means. A reverse mortgage allows homeowners aged 62 and older to convert home equity into tax-free proceeds. There are no asset, employment, or medical requirements to qualify. And most seniors use this program to live in retirement comfortably, but there are an infinite number of reasons to consider this program. And that's why we're here today, is to explore that. In order to be eligible for a reverse mortgage, the younger person of the couple must be 62 years or older. Again, this is specifically designed to help senior citizens stay in their homes. One of the requirements, one of the basics, is the property must be your primary residence, and you must hold title personally, or the property can be in an approved trust. You must have the ability to pay off any existing mortgages or liens with reverse mortgage proceeds. And eligible properties include owner-occupied 1 to 4 family homes, condominiums, manufactured homes. Now, there's a little bit of real estate language in here. Don't worry about that. If you decide you want to find out more about this, we'll sit down one-on-one. And by the way, I emphasize, I make house calls, so that if you decide that you want to learn more, and this is a great place to get a lot of information exchanged, but obviously folks don't want to share a lot of personal information. So the way we do that, if you choose to, after this presentation, get in touch with me. We'll make a date. We'll find the time to come by and go through the way that it would work, the specifics of what a reverse mortgage might do for you. The distribution options, how can you get your money? Well, we have a formula that is given to us by HUD, and it's in my laptop computer here, and in the course of about a minute, it can figure out how much you qualify on a given home. Then the money that you qualify for, you can take it in a lump sum. For instance, if you were paying off a lien or a mortgage, the amount of money to pay that off would come in a lump sum. It doesn't actually go, it goes to the company, the lending company, the mortgage company or whatever. You also have the option to have a monthly check. A lot of folks like the idea of a monthly check to supplement whatever income they have, their Social Security, their pension. Oftentimes, more than not, the folks who get a reverse mortgage, they don't need all of the money that they qualify for. Well, that's cool. Whatever money you qualify for that you don't need goes into a line of credit, and it's available to you in that line of credit at any time on 5 days' notice. If you just at some point something happened that the old clunker gave up the ghost, or the major repair needed to be done, something like that, you would call customer service, identify yourself, and tell them I would like $10,000. Customer service, the only question they ask, they say, we show that you bank at the credit union or wherever you bank because we got that information from you. Is that where you want the money direct deposited? You say yes. Within 5 days, by law, that money will be direct deposited to your account in whatever bank or whatever institution you want. And you can have a combination of options. For instance, maybe we paid off that mortgage and you wanted a monthly check as well. The other thing is you can change it at any time. I've had any number of customers who said that, now that you've paid off that mortgage, I'm not making that $1,000 a month payment anymore. I want to just see how things are working out. And they will go for 6 months or a year or whatever length of time they're comfortable with and say, well, now that I'm not making the mortgage payment anymore, I've got money to pay the other things that I was having trouble with, the taxes, the insurance, that kind of thing. So that's just where I need to be. Or, Mike, I said I needed another $600 a month. In fact, I only need $400 a month. What do I do to change it? Very simple. Every month you get a statement. It's from the company, the customer service department. It has a toll-free number on it. You call the toll-free number, give them your account number, and again, identify yourself and say, I've been getting $600 a month, I only need $400. Or just the opposite. I've been getting $400, or I really need $600. The first of the following month and every month after that, whatever the amount of money is will be direct deposited to your account, period. The 4 nevers. With a reverse mortgage, you will never make a payment on the principal or the interest until you move, sell the home, or pass away. With a reverse mortgage, you never give up title. One of the most common misconceptions is, so I get a reverse mortgage, the bank owns my house. And that's not the case. Frankly, the bank doesn't want your house. The bank's not in the business of owning houses. The bank's in the business of loaning money. Your name will still stay on the deed just as it is now, with the lien in favor of our company because we're the ones who loaned the money. With a reverse mortgage, you never give up title. It's your house and will remain that as long as it's your primary residence, as long as you continue to live there. You can never owe more than the sale price of the home. That means that when you pass on, and it might be a time when the real estate market is terrible and the home will not sell for what it would have sold for, but in the real world, it will not sell for what is owed. When the home is sold, whatever it was received for goes toward to pay off the reverse mortgage. Most of the time it pays off the reverse mortgage. But if there's a deficit, the reverse mortgage balance is $300,000 and the home only sells for $200,000, for instance. That $100,000 deficit, the shortfall, is not covered by the sale of the home, is covered by private mortgage insurance which we put in place in your favor at the time of the closing, and that remains outstanding as long as you live in that house. So that when, usually what happens, the last person moves on, moves to assisted living, moves to Florida, whatever, at that point, the home is no longer the primary residence, so the note becomes due and payable. The house is sold, the reverse mortgage is paid off. The excess equity goes in accordance with the terms of your will. And I always ask people, do you have wills and are they current? And next thing I say is, I don't sell wills. That's not what we're here to talk about. Just it's beneficial to you to have a will. Anyway, the house is sold, the reverse mortgage is paid off. The excess equity goes in accordance with the terms of the will, or goes wherever it goes, determined by the state if you don't have a will. But when it's sold, when the house is sold, if the sale price does not cover the reverse mortgage balance, for example, there's a deficit of $100,000. That $100,000 is covered by the private mortgage insurance, so that if there's excess equity, it goes wherever you want it to go. They never just break even. But if there's a deficit, the deficit is covered by the private mortgage insurance. Absolutely guaranteed. That's part of the deal. It's designed to work that way. Now, you can never owe more than, I said, the sale price of the home because of the HUD private mortgage insurance. And as long as you pay the taxes and insurance and maintain the property, you can never be forced to move. I have to tell you that about 2 years ago, I got a call from a woman in Little Compton, and she said, my husband's grandmother lives by herself, but she needs home health care. Somebody to come in a couple of times a week, that kind of thing. And she can't afford that. We heard that you can help us. So I met with them, and it turned out, yes, we could. She had a lot of equity. And so this is right in the very early days of the pandemic. I remember our first meeting at their house, not at Grandma's house. We all had our masks on. But anyway, we went ahead. We got the reverse mortgage. Her grandson had been advancing money for the home health care so she could stay in her home. So they had advanced about $25,000 of their own money. So her grandson was also her heir and her power of attorney. So when we did the reverse mortgage, he signed all of the paperwork for her, which is very common, and that's the way that it works. And the first thing that he did was he took the money back that they had effectively been loaning her so that she could stay in her house, and then they arranged to take another $1,000 or $1,500 a month or something like that so she could continue to stay there. But what I'm leading up to is there's a newspaper called the Sakana Times, comes to our house once a week. A year or so ago, I was just reading through one, and I said, the oldest resident of Little Compton passes away. And I looked, and there was my customer at the age of 103. Wow. She had passed away. Wow. So that's my record, is 103. But there is no, 62 is the minimum age. There is no maximum age. When does the loan become due and payable? Well, if all of the customers on the reverse mortgage have passed away, if the property is sold, because if the property is sold, it can no longer be your primary residence. If it's no longer the customer's principal residence for a period of 12 months or more, or if the customer refuses to maintain the property or pay the taxes or insurance, then they're in violation of the covenants, and then the lender they're within their rights to initiate foreclosure if the customer will not cooperate. But as long as you do that, maintain the covenants, pay the taxes and insurance, you stay there forever. I like things I like forever. We all. I don't know if you've noticed or not. I'm a senior citizen myself, so I can relate to this. Repayment of a reverse mortgage. Okay, loan must be repaid in full, not in monthly installments, and cannot be assumed. Usually the loan balance is paid out of the proceeds from the sale of the home or other means, personal funds. Limit for repayment is 1 year. If the balance on the loan exceeds the appraised value at the time of the sale, HUD, Department of Housing and Urban Development, will make up the shortage from the insurance bond. Interest accrues, but no payments are required until a home is no longer the customer's principal residence, normally repaid by the estate upon death. So when you have a reverse mortgage, you make no payments on the principal or the interest. Interest does accrue, but it doesn't have to be paid as long as the home remains your primary residence, period. Next question that I often get asked, well, is that interest tax deductible? Yes, when it's paid. No, so we go on living there for 10 years or 20 years, and it's not paid, so it's not tax deductible. When the whoever's wrapping up the affairs does the final tax return, that's when that interest is paid, and that's when it becomes tax deductible.
And is the interest fixed, variable, based on?
Either one. You have a choice of fixed or variable, and in this world we know nothing's simple, but part of my responsibility is, if we get to that point, we'll walk through both ways. So then you will decide whether you want fixed or variable.
Okay.
And that's part of the program. Tax benefits. Well, the big one, disbursements are not taxable, as they are considered loan proceeds, not income. I just said this, but accrued interest generally deductible upon repayment of the loan. Next one, it lowers the estate tax risk. Well, that's so, but most of the folks that I'm working with really don't have much of an estate tax liability, because if they had some big estate, they probably wouldn't need a reverse mortgage. But that interest, when it's paid, reduces your taxable estate, so it will lower estate tax risk if you're subject to an estate tax. Proceeds do not affect Social Security or Medicare benefits. Here's the, you got to be careful of this. May affect state or local benefits such as heating assistance, VA benefits. There are closing costs. When we get a reverse mortgage, 2% of the appraised value is paid to the lender for originating, processing, underwriting the loan. 2% for the FHA insurance, protection from passing on a debt to the heirs, from passing protection from the lender going out of business, and then their traditional closing costs. Title, appraisal, document. But these costs are not collected up front. They come out of the proceeds of the reverse mortgage. There are two closing costs that everyone has to pay when they get a reverse mortgage. First of all, HUD requires the person or persons getting a reverse mortgage to attend a HUD-approved counseling session. That's to make sure, frankly, that I've done my job, that I've helped you to become an educated consumer so you understand the way a reverse mortgage works. And the cost for that's about $175. And the other cost is, if we get to the point where we're going to do a reverse mortgage, we have to get an appraisal done by an independent licensed appraiser. And that's not some company that works for us, somebody who's entirely unbiased. And there's a cost, and the cost for an appraisal for single family residents in this area runs about $550 or $600. So the customer who's getting a reverse mortgage has to pay for the counseling and pay for the appraisal. These other closing costs don't get paid as long as you live in the house. Okay. Truth be told, and if you've done any homework about looking at reverse mortgage, you know there's a lot of rumors out there. Question, will my heirs be stuck if the house doesn't sell for the full amount owed? No. The HECM, that is the Home Equity Conversion Mortgage, reverse mortgage, is a non-recourse loan. That is to say, the home is the only collateral. If you owe more money, it's going to be covered by the private mortgage insurance anyway. But we can't come after your pension or your home, your furniture, any of this. It's only the home. The estate is protected from ever owing more than the value of the home. Next question, can I afford the closing costs? Well, all the closing costs can be financed. As in a regular forward mortgage, costs are rolled into the loan. Borrower is guaranteed to never have to make monthly payments for as long as he or she lives in the home. The only out-of-pocket costs are the HUD counseling and the appraisal. Next question, will I be eligible for a higher amount with another lender? No. The HECM, the Home Equity Conversion Mortgage, reverse mortgage, was designed by HUD and the principal loan calculations are the same no matter which lender you choose. I don't think I would qualify for a loan. Well, there are no asset, employment, or health requirements. The costs are too high. Well, let's look at the alternatives. First of all, if you don't, you could go ahead and sell your home. You'd pay 4 to 6% sales commission on top of another 1% in standard closing costs. On a $300,000 home, that's $15,000 to $20,000. People often say to me, "Well, Mike, you said a reverse mortgage is a home equity loan." Well, it is. Why don't I just go to the bank and get a home equity loan? Well, because you can do that, but that with the home equity loan, you draw cash out of the home and make monthly payments. There's the zinger. You get a home equity loan, and you take the money to pay off the mortgage or do the repairs or whatever, and that's the good news. The bad news is 30 days later, the first payment is due. And 30 days later, after that, the next payment is due. So with the home equity loan does do a good job of solving the immediate problem, but you're going to be obligating yourself to have monthly payments for whoever knows how long. So then, but that's a decision you have to make. Does this make sense? Well, some folks it does, some folks it doesn't. Again, the truth be told, items to consider why this program may be right for you. Are you going to sell your home? This, in 17 years that I've been doing this, every single reverse mortgage I've done, one of the objectives, and the first objective is, Mike, I want to stay in my house. We've lived here for 35 years. We've watched the neighborhood grow up around us. This is where we raise the kids. So if you're going to sell your home, particularly in the short term, and that would probably, my thinking is 2 to 3 years, then a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, might be the solution. Next question, will a reverse mortgage allow you to stay in your home? Well, that's what we're talking about here. This is we're going to enable folks to access that equity tax-free, use it for whatever they need to stay in the home. Excuse me. Do you have other resources you can draw from? This one, next one, gets lots of different impressions, facial expressions. Have you made living arrangements with other family members? Well, sometimes I get a yes, sometimes I get a no, and a range of other. But anyway, have you made living arrangements with other family members? Last one is, can you comfortably afford your expected living expenses, property taxes, and insurance? And because that's one of the things that we do look at, you have to have cash flow, Social Security, pension, whatever, to be able to pay your taxes and insurance, because if you don't do that, you won't be able to stay in your home. Consumer safeguards. A reverse mortgage is a non-recourse loan. We can't go back to the borrower or their estate for shortfalls. The HUD approved counseling prior to application. The way that works, 99% of my customers do it over the phone, and that's perfectly fine. I give them the information, they call a toll-free number, and the counselor talks to them about reverse mortgages. Make sure that I've done my job. Make sure that I've helped them to become educated consumers. Make sure that because if I were crook, hornswoggling people or something like that, who knows what I would have told them, but then that would come out at that point. This lady asked fixed rate or adjustable rate. You have your choice. You make the decision which one is better, is more beneficial to you. Disbursement guarantee. This you qualify for $300,000 and you only need $100,000. That leaves you another $200,000 in your line of credit that you can access at any time if you have a need for it. If you don't have a need for it, it just stays there. Every month you get a statement. It says, this is the opening balance. This is the interest that was accrued this month. You don't pay it, but this interest was accrued. This is the amount of money that's in your line of credit. This is your balance. Because at any time that you want to, people ask me the question, Mike, suppose we decided we want to sell, move out, whatever. Well, if you do, you don't have to ask us. You don't have to tell us. All you would do is call customer service and say, we're selling the house, and customer service will say, as of what date will it be closing? You say the 15th of October, and they write it in front of them on their computer. Okay, on the 15th of October, your balance with interest through that date will be whatever it is, and so you need to have arranged to have your bank transfer that money on that date, and it would pay off. No prepayment penalty. This is important. If you come into an inheritance or an insurance settlement, or you have a great weekend at Foxwood, or whatever, then you can come back and pay off the reverse mortgage. There is no prepayment penalty, period. Interest accrues through the date of the payment, and then you're done. Advanced disclosure, if you decide to go forward, we'll sit down and we'll go through an application package, which is about 38 pages, plus or minus a couple, and probably 2/3 of them require a signature, so you'll probably have writer's cramp by the time you get. But all advanced disclosures, everything is up front. Last one there, family, financial planner, CPA involvement encouraged but not required. Here's the process. Call me, Mike Kennedy. The first number is our office in Fall River, or my cell phone. I didn't mention, but I'm a carpetbagger. I live in Rhode Island and work in Massachusetts, so I cross the state line back and forth every day. Either one of those numbers work. You will receive a personalized report showing what you qualify for at no cost or obligation, period. If it makes sense, go ahead and do the HUD counseling. Schedule an at-home application. When the processing is complete, a closing is scheduled. Any existing debt on your home is paid off, and your funds are distributed according to the plan that you choose. You have been most patient, asking good questions. Thank you for your time.